Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV could be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press is for Friday, June 14th, 2024. And on the front, a good news article, Way to Go Kristen, by Casper Warehan. Former area student gets U of M degree while beating cancer. And pictured is Kristen Wilson, formerly from Glenella and McCreary, pictured as she appeared on her graduation day. Kristen recently graduated from University of Manitoba while battling and ultimately defeating cancer. An area individual marked a momentous occasion recently. Kristen Wilson, currently from Winnipeg and formerly from Glenella and McCreary, has graduated from the University of Manitoba. Kristen comes away from her graduation with a Bachelor of Science in Physical Geography with a focus on atmospheric and hydrological sciences and a minor in soil science. The Banner and Press had the opportunity to speak with Kristen on June 7th, who noted that her interest in these particular fields stems from living on a farm outside of Glenella in her youth. Keeping an eye on the forecast is a crucial part of the livelihood. I quickly took an interest in the weather, and I knew I wanted to enter the field of meteorology by the age of 7, said Kristen. Getting older, I enjoyed watching the development of convective and severe storms, which led to my enrollment in the University of Manitoba's Physical Geography program, where I could declare a concentration in atmospheric science. But bachelor's degree was a bucket list item. Kristen added, as I gained a deeper understanding in just how dynamic the atmosphere is, I later decided to add a soil science minor to my degree to better understand soil's role in weather and climate. This graduation is extra special, however, as she received her degree with distinction and while undergoing nearly 2.5 years of chemotherapy. We are so proud of everything, said Nicole Wilson, Kristen's sister. Kristen's hopeful to be done chemotherapy in August. Way to go, Kristen. Kristen explained that she began her university education in 2018 and started to show symptoms of cancer in 2021. She was actively taking courses until February of 2022, when she was officially diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, a type of cancer that affects one's bone marrow and blood. I made the decision to drop my courses following my release from my 6-week inpatient treatment at HSC. Following recommendations from my doctor, I took an almost year-long break from school, returning to classes on my 23rd birthday in January of 2023. The degree took me 5 years, not including my break, said Kristen. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to return to my education following my diagnosis. Not everyone is lucky enough to do that. Completing my bachelor's degree became a bucket list item for me, and I'm so glad I got to check that off. Regaining a sense of normalcy. Reflecting on the journey to this point, Kristen shared that it certainly wasn't without its challenges. I initially found difficulties adapting to city life and a university course load after spending my first 18 years living in Glenella and McCreary, but eventually adapted. Kristen shared, things became more difficult for me again in spring 2021 after losing my uncle to COVID. Kristen expanded further, stating, my family has been a great support since my diagnosis, with my mom taking a leave of absence from work to be by my side during the most intense portion of my treatment, lasting 11 months. Balancing chemotherapy and schoolwork occasionally had its challenges, but most professors and faculty staff were very understanding of my situation. Nearing the end of my treatment, I've been able to gain back my independence and some sense of normalcy. Thankful for support. With her degree in hand and a figurative feather in her cap, Kristen now plans to work for a couple of years before once again furthering her education. This summer, I'll be working as a student weather briefer forecaster with Manitoba Wildfire Service, said Kristen. I plan to later continue my studies, going back for a master's degree in either atmospheric science or soil science, along with eventually obtaining a PhD, pursuing a career in research. I hope to focus my research on agrometeorology and agroclimatology. In her final comments, Kristen wished to share both a word of encouragement and gratitude. During my treatment, I have received multiple blood transfusions. With a blood product shortage currently happening in Canada, I encourage all those who are eligible to donate blood, said Kristen. Additionally, I would like to thank my sister Nicole for organizing a GoFundMe shortly after my diagnosis. I would also like to thank the community for their support and the donations I received. The Neepawa Banner and Press extends congratulations to Kristen Wilson and wishes her the best of luck in her future endeavors. And also, Drugs, Weapons Bust in Neepawa and North Cypress-Langford by Owen Devereaux. A weekend raid has netted Spruce Plains RCMP a variety of bootleg drugs and weapons. On Saturday, June 8th, local police officers, with the assistance of the Emergency Response Team and Crime Reduction Unit, executed warrants under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. Properties in the town of Neepawa and the RMF North Cypress-Langford were searched, and 5 people in total were arrested. An RCMP media release forwarded to the Banner and Press states that the investigation has yielded the seizure of numerous hydromorphone and lesdexamphetamine tablets, over $2,000 in cash, 9 firearms, 1 prohibited weapon, and an array of stolen property. For context, hydromorphone is a prescription opioid used to treat moderate to severe pain, while lisdexamphetamine is a stimulant used to treat ADHD in children and adults, and for moderate to severe binge eating. As for the 5 people who were arrested, only 1 has been publicly identified as facing charges at this time. 61-year-old James Radford has been charged with 2 counts of possession for the purpose of trafficking, a Schedule I substance. The accused is also charged with possession of proceeds of crime, possession of stolen property, and unsafe storage of a firearm. All these charges have yet to be proven in a court of law. Police continue to investigate, and other charges may be pending. And Neepawa approves massive road repairs. Portions of Mill and Hamilton Street to be completely repaved by Owen Devereaux. And pictured above, 1 block of Mill Street, pictured, will be completely repaved this summer to deal with the excess of potholes which developed over the mild winter. A block on Hamilton Street will also be repaired. And pictured below, last week staff with the town of Neepawa began the filling of potholes across the community. They will have access to the filling equipment for a total of 4 weeks. Over $360,000 from Neepawa's 2024 budget is being reallocated into road repairs. Town Council has approved shifting funds that they have had committed to other projects earlier this year into repaving portions of Mill and Hamilton Street. This roadwork has been deemed more immediately essential to the community than the projects the money had previously been promised to within the financial plan. The redistribution of funding will go to a 4-inch resurfacing of the blocks of Mill and Hamilton located between Mountain and First Avenue. The cost for the restoration of Mill will be $187,959 plus GST, while for Hamilton it will be $175,429 plus GST. Zenith Paving has been hired to do the work. Currently, there is no set schedule for the work to begin, though it is hoped to be started by the summer. Chief Administrative Officer Colleen Sinchishian noted that this work will be just focused on paving. It will not take into account, as we have preached for years now, it's nice when you pave a street to do all of the water and sewer infrastructure underneath, because then you take away the risk of having to cut up the street afterwards to unblock a sewer or water line or whatever the case may be, said Sinchishian. However, based upon the condition of these particular sections of the street in the commercial district, we decided to just proceed with the paving. We hope it will be a very pleasing result when it is done. Extended pothole fill period. Along with approving the transfer of funds into the complete repaving of 2 roads, Council also acknowledged it has extended its summer schedule for pothole repairs. Normally, Neepawa hires an outside contractor to come in and fill the holes over the course of a week. This year, however, due to the substantial increase in rough patches on many streets, the town will rent the pothole patching truck for 4 weeks and do the work itself. 3 Town of Neepawa staff have been trained in the use of the machinery and will be kept out for as long as possible to repair every pothole. And pictured here, Filipino heritage honored in Neepawa with flag raising. A flag raising in Neepawa helped to kick off the 126th Philippine Independence Day celebrations. A ceremony was held on Wednesday, June 12th, at the former RCMP building on Mill Street and featured a large contingent of Neepawa's Filipino community, as well as local representatives from the town and MLA Jody Byram. Philippines Independence Day, also known as Ara in Calayan, Day of Freedom, commemorates the declaration of Philippine independence from Spain in 1898. And moving on, Looking Back by Casper Warren. 1974, Oslin received Cadet Achievement Award, and that is what is pictured. Warrant Officer 2 Alan Osland was one of the cadets who were presented with honors by a senior officer of the Armed Forces in June of 1974. He received the Air Cadet Achievement Award from M.M. Smitty Asplin, chairman of the Neepawa Air Cadet Committee. And we'll head back into the past. 125 years ago, Saturday, June 17th, 1899. The baseball match between married and single men on Thursday evening attracted a couple of hundred people to the agricultural ground, where a good exhibition of the game was given and plenty of amusement afforded. When darkness intervened, the single men had an inning to spare with the score at 10-8. Lou Parsons, barber, was obliged to have his establishment removed several rods further north to make room for the new block to be put up by Simpson and Company. Oh, sorry. 100 years ago, June 1924. Helen Thompson has completed her term at Brandon Normal and is home for the holidays with Miss Myrtle Dixon of Killarney and Miss Lind of Oak Lake as guests. Joseph Green returned home to Riding Mountain on Friday after 7 months' treatment in the Winnipeg General Hospital. He feels confident of permanent recovery from his ailments due to war service. Only 3 flags were hoisted in Neepawa in honor of the King's birthday: on the post office, the land titles office, and the county building. And the flag on the land titles office shows signs of long usage. Are we lacking in demonstrative loyalty, extremely economical, or just indifferent? 75 years ago, June 1949. Mrs. Mary Cameron of Neepawa is another pioneer of Manitoba, having resided in this province for the past 80 years. Her husband, the late Charles Cameron, built the first fire hall in Winnipeg in 1885. Mrs. Cameron attended the Pioneers Pageant at Portage la Prairie on May 24th. Honorable D.L. Campbell, Premier of Manitoba, in his address told the large crowd Miss Mary Cameron, one of the pioneers attending, was in Portage in 1869. Mrs. Cameron also plans to visit Winnipeg during the week of Manitoba Capital's 75th anniversary celebration. Mrs. Cameron was born in Bruce County, Ontario, and came west with her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Little, to Winnipeg at the age of 9 years. The journey to Winnipeg required 10 weeks. The family made the journey from Duluth, Minnesota to Winnipeg by covered wagon drawn by ox team, taking 8 weeks to reach the present Manitoba capital. Mr. and Mrs. Little and their 9 children, the eldest being 12 years old and the youngest 3 months, made the difficult trip west. The living members of her family are a daughter, Mrs. N. Shuttleworth, residing at Minnedosa, and 1 son, Edwin, here. A sister to Mrs. Ed Murray resides in Minnedosa. In the past few weeks, there has been a mild outbreak of German measles, rubella, in the town and district of Neepawa. The disease has been very mild, characterized usually by symptoms of a common cold, a mild rash, and enlarged neck glands. Unfortunately, it is often impossible for the parent to distinguish between German measles and ordinary measles, and although German measles is usually a mild disease, ordinary measles can often be very serious. 50 years ago, 1974, Mrs. Marjorie P. Ford, Eden, Manitoba, has been appointed to the position of Director of Nursing at the Neepawa District Memorial Hospital, effective June 1974. The Museum of the Ukrainian Cultural and Educational Center is embarking on a tour of rural Manitoba with a traveling exhibit. The exhibit is entitled Taking Root in a New Land and encompasses the story of Ukrainian settlement in Canada. It is composed of photography panels, artifacts, and story cards, which together portray the cultural development of the Ukrainians. The exhibit will be in Neepawa at the Holiday Festival of the Arts, July 1st to July 6th. Neepawa Cadet Squadron No. 9 held their banquet and presentation of awards on Tuesday, June 4th at the Legion Hall. A number of presentations were made by senior officers of the armed forces. 20 years ago, 2004, Kelwood. A little bit of history came to light recently as a military cross that had been awarded to a heroic Canadian chaplain was put on the auction block in London, fetching the sum of £3,000, which is 3,700 Canadian. It was awarded to the chaplain for gallantry he showed in treating the wounded despite being under relentless Nazi fire during the Allies' raid in Dieppe in 1942. He worked as a military orderly on the beach while carrying on until he was shot in the head, leaving him dazed. Regaining his senses, he carried on, nearly missing the last of the boats to leave the beach. He was shot again in the leg as he scrambled on his way to the craft. The name of this very heroic person was the Reverend James Porter Brown, a United Church minister who served the Kelwood charge from 1936 to 37. Following that, he was at Dauphin United before joining up. He retired with the rank of Deputy Chaplain General in 1963. He is now deceased. Reverend Brown was married to Jessie Walwyn. Both buyer and seller of the cross remain anonymous. And right in the center by Ken Waddell, and as usual, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press staff. Crime needs to be curbed. I am a regular reader of newspapers and news websites. No surprise there, I guess. When I scan the news, what does surprise me, and I'm certain surprises others, is how much arson, theft, assault, and murder takes place. It is even more surprising that often the culprits have very long records. Why are we subjected to the tyranny of highly active repeat offenders? I have, in the past, questioned why chronic repeat violent sexual offenders are allowed to be out in the community. It's insane, but I am aiming this discussion at lesser crimes, I guess. How can there be multiple cases of arson per month in Winnipeg? Somebody even tried to set Brandon's Walmart on fire last week. They burned up a bunch of plastic lawn chairs and damaged the front of the store. It could have been taken out the whole store. Numerous buildings in Winnipeg are burned every month, and some multiple times. Why is there so much theft, shoplifting, and car break-ins? Observers of the crime scene will say that poverty breeds crime, and that may be partly true. It is also a bad rap on poor people, as the vast majority of poor people wouldn't stoop so low as to commit crimes. The liberal-minded people who are always jumping to the defense of criminals are just plain wrong. Most criminals know it's wrong, and most know that there are alternatives. We have homeless shelters, food banks, and we have numerous organizations dedicated to helping people. Before resorting to crime, maybe people should just ask for help. Desperate people will resort to drugs and crime, and that is a real thing and a real problem for the criminals and for everyone. More has to be done, but I contend that people who combine drugs and crime should be in an institution. They obviously can't look after themselves, and in falling short of that goal, they harm many other people along the way. I have no patience with tough guy cops, but I also have little patience with people who continually make excuses for criminals and drug abusers. Then there are the victimizing drug pushers. That's a whole other problem. Anyone who sells or pushes illegal drugs and victimizes people by getting them started on drugs deserves little sympathy. There is a steady stream of proposed solutions, and it's time progress was made. It may seem seems like police don't have time to even come out to shoplifting crimes, so obviously we need more police. Probably need more treatment centers, yes, even more jail cells. We certainly need a speeded up court system. I'm even willing to go along with safe injection, but has anyone figured out how many we would need? Will Winnipeg need 20 sites? Will every town need one? Just having the government set up one site in downtown Winnipeg won't accomplish much. All of the above is just talk, and that's all I have the authority to do. We don't need more talk. We need more action, and we need it fast. Home Buddies by Rita Friesen. The Grandparent Deficit. Leafing through an older Reader's Digest, not really old, 2020, there were two articles that seemed related, and both struck my fancy. One is New Rules for Spoiling Grandkids, and the other, The Simple Truth About Older Parenting. I could relate to both. A highlighted sentence from the second article reads, one offshoot of delayed parenting is the so-called grandparent deficit. The youngest member of my family arrived when I was 31, and her dad was 50. I know that I lacked the physical energy to keep up with a farming household. Not really lacked, just considerably less than when I was 21. Concerned family and friends expressed the wisdom of having another child when Dad was closer to retirement age. Ed was there for her high points: driver's license, graduation from high school to university, and marriage. More importantly, he was able to be fully present for her more than 35 years. A great set of memories. However, as the very youngest grandchild on the paternal side, she did not get to know her grandparents. There are some memories of the maternal grandparents. In comparison, my early years were filled with 2 complete sets of grandparents and 1 complete set of great-grands, and many cousins. I can understand that having children later in life may affect their knowing their grandparents. The other article I would expand upon, there is a difference in overindulgence and acknowledging the specific gifts and interests of a grandchild. One of my grands has an interest in cooking and baking, so one day we shopped for an elaborate meal, including a floral centerpiece for the table. When all was done, to perfection I will add, the 12-year-old, looking at the receipt, said, and I guess that's why we don't do this often, right. Another grand loved playing video games, and I can't count the number of nights we played along after the house was quiet. Just one more. One liked to sew, another to play dress-up and create games. My task was to supply ingredients and materials and applaud. Did I spoil them? Well, I certainly loved them a whole lot. Another point in writing that I agree with, research shows that kids who are close to their grandparents have better mental health outcomes. Heck yeah, grandparents are able to provide a safe place to speak of fears and hopes. We can be supportive and non-judgmental, skills we learned as parents, hopefully. One question posed was, are grandparents better off because of their grandchildren? And again, a resounding heck yeah. One study showed that engaged grandparents live 5 years longer than their counterparts. Active grandparenting keeps one active and a sense of purpose, often lacking in an older person's life. Parenting was a privilege and a responsibility, and I did make mistakes. Grandparenting was much more fun. I could release the child in me and toboggan and fly kites with no raised eyebrows, and I made fewer mistakes. I am thrilled to be a great grandmother, to get to read the monster at the end of this book in Oscar's voice one more time, to play Legos and make even fewer mistakes. Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroshine. Right where we're supposed to be. At the close of class one afternoon, a seminary student came up to the late Dr. Howard Hendricks and said, "Prof, I have a question that's been troubling me for a long time. Why in the world did Jesus choose Judas as one of his disciples?" Hendricks paused and replied, "Well, I have a question as well. Why did Jesus choose you?" He quickly added, "And I have a question that is even more puzzling. Why did Jesus choose me?" I have asked the same questions at times. I've often wondered why some of my college and seminary classmates went on to pastor high-profile churches and were promoted to supervisory jobs in their denomination, while others spent their entire career serving small rural churches and had to have a second job just to make a living. For me, the answer came one Sunday morning about 12 years ago. The person who welcomed me to a church where I was about to lead worship spoke briefly of my travels and community service and then said, "Neil could be somewhere else today, but he's right where he's supposed to be, right here in this church with us." That's when it all made sense. I have occasionally served on church boards and denominational committees, but I quit every one of them after less than 2 years because serving effectively in those positions requires a skill set that I don't have. But for the last 23 years, I have found pure joy in traveling from small church to small church, meeting people where they are and encouraging them as they walk with and work for God in their communities. And whenever I go somewhere to preach, those words come back and I remind me that I am right where God wants me to be, in that community, serving that church, with that day's congregation, whether large or small. What's true of me is true of you and of every other person on this earth. You and I are right where we are supposed to be. We're in the right time, at the right place, living on the right street, in the right community, and working with the people God has called us to work with, so that together we may do His will and help fulfill His plans for all of us. Those around us might not see the wisdom in God's choices, but that doesn't matter. Here's what St. Paul said about that. God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, things that are not, to reduce to nothing things that are, so that no one might boast in the presence of God. 1 Corinthians 1:27-29. God never makes mistakes. He takes people whom the world considers underqualified for a task, equips them with all the abilities they need to do it, and energizes them so that they do far more than anyone expects of them. God also calls people whom society considers to be highly skilled and qualified for any job to serve Him in remote areas and work with small groups, because God knows that it is where they are needed most. Don't question God's judgment. You and I are right where we're supposed to be. God asks us to serve Him faithfully until we have finished the work He has called us to do here, and He tells us it's okay to move on. And the Beautiful Plains Museum history, separating cream the old way. Separating fresh whole milk into cream and skim milk is a process that has certainly changed with technological advancements throughout the years. The first mechanical cream separator appears to have been made by C.G. Laval of Sweden. This device utilized centrifugal force for separation. Pictured at left is one example of someone using a cream separator. And thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up to KK2 executive chef Lance Corey, who arrives at work at 5:30 to make the delicious cinnamon buns for us. Much appreciated. Your fan club, the KK2 residents. And thumbs down. D-Day parents let their kids go to war at 16 and age. Parents now feel the need to drive them to school when they are in walking, biking distance. From Jim Krasaniak. And we're back to the Gladstone Markets Report by Tyler Slowinski. The weather is like a box of chocolates. Just never know what you're going to get. From being cool and damp, rain, or gusting winds, it's certainly been challenging for producers to get the crops in the ground in certain areas. Although the grass doesn't seem to mind the weather, there seems to be a decent amount of grass in pastures. Hopefully it's not too lush to stick to the ribs, and gains are promising. Well, if it was easy, everyone would want to farm or ranch. When it comes to marketing cattle this time of year, quality generally starts to decline while varieties of cattle increase, making it tough to fill loads and orders. The market this week was fairly active. Cattle fit for breeding or grass are bringing prices that we have never seen, and cows and bulls seem to be bringing prices from another world. Supply and demand is definitely supporting the cattle market. We sold 566 cattle through the ring in Gladstone on June 11th. The market saw a variety of cattle. The market seems stronger in most spots. And if you compare that with the quantity and quality we are seeing this time of year, the market is very strong. The first cut cattle are becoming few and far between and are still in high demand. Second and third cut cattle are now selling for all-time highs. Cows and bulls traded with plenty of strength from 180 to 195, with sales to 205 with stronger averages. Bulls traded with brute force ranging from 220 to 235, with sales to 241. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Be sure to check out the updated schedule as cattle numbers start to soften. We have decided to skip every other week. This allows for more cattle sale day and to accommodate our cattle buyers who need volume to create loads and fill orders. We will still be having a couple more sales before the summer break to clean up any cattle that are fit for market. And out of Helen's kitchen, muffins. Cupcakes or muffins, what sets them apart? Is it just the icing? Cupcakes are essentially miniature cakes. They are usually sweeter, richer, and decorated with icing. Muffins are usually less sweet, contain fruits, nuts, and whole grains, and they generally use oil rather than butter. Muffins are perfect for grab-and-go breakfast, a great way to get a midday energy snack or to serve as a dessert. Homemade muffins are usually better than the purchased ones that often are huge, loaded with oil and sugar, and contain more calories and less nutrition than the homemade ones. When making homemade muffins, you can use less added sugar and oil and add more fruits, nuts, and whole grains, making them more nutritious for the family. When it comes to making muffins, it's important not to overmix the batter. Overmixing can lead to tough and dense muffins. Stir the dry ingredients and wet ingredients separately, then gently fold them together until just combined. When adding berries, raisins, nuts, or chocolate chips, give them a light dusting of flour before adding to help them stay in the batter. I just save a tablespoon of flour from the flour called for in the recipe. Muffins keep well for several months in the freezer, making them handy for a quick breakfast or a snack. To thaw one, just pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds. And she has included recipes for peach muffins and orange muffins. And the White Mud Music Fest is getting ready to rock. And pictured, the B-31st, or the Beast, performed at the 2023 edition of the White Mud Music Festival. The second annual White Mud Music Festival is set to rock the banks of the White Mud River in the beautiful Lansdowne Centennial Park in Arden on the weekend of August 23rd and 24th, 2024. Building off the success of the inaugural event in 2023, we are excited to add 2 additional acts to the weekend to have 10 amazing and diverse acts to entertain our festival goers. Backed by popular demand, our feature act for Friday night will be the Beast from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, who know how to keep the party rockin'. A full day of music on Saturday, starting at noon with local musician Rob Woodell and his band Annabella Proper, who are not going to want to miss. We have 3 great tribute bands to finish off the festival on Saturday night. Damn the Torpedoes, a Tom Petty tribute. For those about to rock, an AC/DC tribute. And to close off the festival, Rattlesnake Suitcase, Guns N' Roses tribute. Will be sure to leave us rocked out by the end of the night. Please look for us on social media and in future ads for more info. Looking forward to seeing everyone out for the second annual White Mud Music Festival. Gladstone remembers Royal Canadian Legion No. 110 will hold 80th anniversary for the D-Day ceremony by Owen Devereaux. And pictured above, members of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 110 marched from the Legion building to the Memorial Cenotaph and laid wreaths, pictured on right, to show respect to those who fought for our freedom during the D-Day invasion on June 6, 1944. The bravery and sacrifices on the beaches of Normandy in 1944 has not been forgotten, as members of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 110 held a ceremony to mark the 80th anniversary of D-Day on June 6. The event brought together community members in a tribute to those who participated in Operation Neptune, the official code name of that portion of the invasion. Over 150,000 troops, 10,000 aircraft, and 6,000 ships were involved in the storming of the beaches on that day. The Canadian contingent led the charge on Juno, one of the 5 code names for beaches in the incursions: Gold, Juno, Omaha, Sword, and Utah. In total, 14,000 Canadian troops from the 3rd Infantry Division, Royal Winnipeg Rifles, and the 2nd Canadian Armored Brigade stormed the beaches. In Gladstone, members of the 110 marched from the Legion building to the Memorial Cenotaph to honor those heroes of the past. Once at the cenotaph, Gary Henderson, the Sergeant-at-Arms for Legion 110, read a speech prepared by Cathy on the day, Canada's role in the action and its continued impact upon our freedom. As well, the ceremony included the laying of wreaths, the playing of our national anthem, and God Save the King, as well as a moment of silence, which were all observed. And Waves of Hope car rally, a day of fun, and pictured fine weather and warm smiles were shared during the Waves of Hope car rally in Minnedosa by Casper Warren. Waves of Hope had people put on their thinking caps this past weekend. The Dragon Boat team hosted a car rally in Minnedosa on June 9th, starting at 1 p.m. The rally and fundraiser provided participants with a list of directions and clues, bringing them to some of the beautiful vistas in the area. Everyone who participated was also welcome to enjoy fresh food and refreshments afterwards. Things ran fairly smoothly, said Debbie Lee of Waves of Hope. It was a nice day, and it was the first time it's been done in the area in a while, I believe. So everyone had fun, and they finished the day with chili on a bun. The Waves of Hope car rally had a total of 12 cars, with an approximated 30 people participating. A count of funds raised was not available, as was still being calculated. Some of the funds raised could go towards research, while some could go towards funding the club, such as for equipment. Each team had a name, said Lee. Our winner was 4 Girls on the Hill, and then we had the tie for 2nd and 3rd. Those were the Hot Rockets and the Sangatees. And a vision coming to fruition. Valley Life Recreation closes out first Squirrel Chaser mountain bike race. And pictured above, over 100 energetic bikers were registered for Valley Life Recreation's first Squirrel Chaser mountain bike race at Minnedosa's Squirrels Hills Trail Park on June 9th. Pictured left, this young cyclist flashes a smile while racing past the camera. Pictured right, a pair of racers roll around the bend in one of the trails. And pictured below, the 291 drum group performed at the opening ceremonies on June 9th. Neepawa wasn't the only community that was off to the races recently. Just down the road, our neighbors in Minnedosa had helmets on and bikes at the ready for Valley Life Recreation's Squirrel Chaser mountain bike race. Yet another VLR first. The race was held on June 9th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and served as a qualifier for the Manitoba Summer Games, which will be held in Dauphin this summer. According to Communication Chair Dominique Hampton, conditions that day were perfect. The recent high winds the area has been experiencing held off for the day, and the temperature remained ideal for racers and spectators alike. Hampton expanded further on the day's conditions, stating, "The trails were in incredible shape today to the style of construction and how rapidly they dry off after rainy events. Everybody commented on how the quality of these trails are some of the best they have ever ridden." In addition, the VLR had a very welcome surprise in regards to registration. We were aiming for 50 registrants and ended up with over 100, Hampton enthused. Watching hundreds of people arrive at our soon-to-be-developed trailhead was incredible. Hampton added, "Seeing the work we've put in over the past 3 years being enjoyed by so many is surreal. Knowing these people will go home and share their experiences makes it even more special. Our vision is finally coming to fruition, and we couldn't be happier." Tim Fracoda, associated with Prairie Mountain Cyclists, attested to VLR's hard work and the culmination of the event. For me, this was a bit of a dream turned reality thing and made me appreciate that it is only possible because of the concerted efforts of a bunch of amazing people, and another sign of good things to come, said Fracoda. Riders in the range from kids under 7 to under 19 to competitive and expert elite and sport. While the races were accelerating for the bikers, it was noticed that there was plenty of interest on the part of the spectators. VLR chairperson Dave Tournier noted that the trailhead and its pathways, as well as surrounding landscape, create a unique, intimate venue. This creates an incredible experience not only for the racers, but also for the spectators who get to watch the races come through the trailhead multiple times during the race, said Tournier, and in some cases, multiple times on each individual lap. Some top threes. Shown below are a few of the top 3 results listed in order from first to third for each. Under 13 Manitoba Games qualifier. Jordy Lowen, 16:56.6, Graham Zagozwski, 17:07.3, and Dexton Sheepers, 18:36.3. Under 15 Manitoba Games qualifier. Taven Sheepers, 31:04.0, Kevin Hawanik, 31:05.8, and Cade Burley, 32:03.6. Under 17 male and female. Aubrey Allen, 43:49.8, Marcus Hubner, 44:32.2, and Lev Fracoda, 45:11.7. Expert elite male and female. Garrett Penner, 1 hour 20:34.6, Owen Delling, 1 hour 20:34.7, and Kyle Zorniak, 1 hour 26:36.2. Full results for all categories, including those above, can be found online at zone4.ca. Providing a closing comment, Hapton extended a word of gratitude stating, "Thank you to the 291 drum group for performing at our opening ceremonies, and to all of the participants, spectators, volunteers, and organizers." Earth, Fire, Wind exhibit opening and fundraiser well received by Casper Warren. And pictured, one of the event's early arriving visitors admired Brad Mummery's portrait featuring Lucille Ball. Local artist Brad Mummery had a full busy day on Thursday, June 6. Mummery was at Arts Forward for much of the day for a lunchtime gala opening fundraiser, as well as making presentations to Neepawa students. Mummery's presentations included a short airbrush demonstration and showing the progress of one of his paintings. Additionally, his exhibit titled Earth, Fire, Wind is on display in the gallery in order of progression. The main purpose is to help encourage the kids to stick with art, to not quit, Mummery said that day. There's some kids who are doing digital art right now that they were perhaps shy about it, and that digital art that counts. Mummery added, "I'm also trying to help them get over any potential discouragement that may have encountered. The response from the kids has been great." Mummery noted that each time he was up on stage and accepting inquiries, he was flooded with questions. "I barely had time to get through them all," Mummery shared, "so hopefully I'm encouraging them to pursue art to the fullest." While final results for funds raised by the noon hour gala opening fundraiser were not available prior to the Banner and Press's print date for this week, it was noted that the event was very well received. Funds raised from the event are to benefit NACI's art program. And Spruce Plains RCMP May Report by Sergeant David Taggart. In the month of May, we had 374 occurrences. We did 63 mandatory alcohol screening tests on drivers during vehicle stops. We picked up 1 impaired driver, and there were 2 72-hour roadside suspensions, with one of them being due to high levels of marijuana in their system. We served 2 cell phone tickets this month. Using a handheld electronic device while you're driving will earn you a $672 fine and a 72-hour driving suspension. With summer arriving, we're seeing more people on their bikes. Please use a bike lock to lock up your bikes. Persons under 18 are required to wear helmets under the Highway Traffic Act. There is a small fine for this that can be dealt with by doing an online course on bike safety if it is your first offense. Speeder of the Month. The Speeder of the Month was a 20-year-old driver from Brandon, traveling 149 kilometers per hour in a 100 zone through the RM of North Cypress-Langford. Anti-fraud tip, hydro scam. A scammer claims to be an employee of a hydro company. They state that you or your business have an unpaid balance on your hydro bill. You must pay it immediately or the company will turn off your power. The scammer may request payment via money service businesses, prepaid credit cards, gift cards, example, iTunes, Google Play, or Steam cards, or cryptocurrency. Businesses asking for payment in gift cards is a red flag for a fraud scam. And local student athletes give back. NACI Hockey distributes money from its annual fundraiser by Owen Devereaux. And pictured on Monday, June 10th, the graduating members of the Neepawa Tigers hockey team distributed funds from their annual Tigers Fight Cancer campaign. The money was given to an NACI fund to support families with children fighting cancer. Top left, Victoria's Quilts. Neepawa. Top right, Central Plains Cancer Care. Bottom left, and the chemo unit of the Neepawa Health Center, bottom right. The Neepawa Tigers hockey team's efforts off the ice are being commemorated this week through a series of check presentations. Graduating members of the high school club, along with the coaching staff, presented 4 checks totaling $5,500 to worthy local cancer care programs on Monday, June 10th. These checks presentations included $2,000 for the chemo unit at the Neepawa Health Center Memorial Hospital, $1,500 for Victoria Quilts Canada, Neepawa chapter, $1,000 for Central Plains Cancer Services, and $1,000 for the establishment of an NACI fund to support families with children battling cancer. The $5,500 was raised through the team's annual Tigers Fight Cancer fundraiser. This event is held every January and features a variety of fundraising efforts from the players, including a progressive 50-50 and a 50-50 during one of NACI's home games. The team also wore special pink jerseys in that game. This is the 4th year the Tigers Fight Cancer event has been staged, and it has been able to raise a combined $14,650. Proud to give back. Tigers co-coach Troy Brister said the graduating players and the entire team as a collective are proud to be able to support the community and give back in some way. It's awesome, and it's something the players, parents, and team supporters take great pride in. If they're not willing to take on the organization and the running of the day, we don't raise what we do, and the community as well plays a big part, showing up to the game and supporting the cause as well as they do, through 50-50 tickets and the puck toss. It's appreciated, said Brister. It means something to these graduating players to be able to hand it out. It's pretty special. Shauna Gork-Lavassier, the Health Services Acute Manager for Neepawa Health Center, said the Prairie Mountain Health and the Neepawa Health Center staff sincerely appreciate the generous donation from the NACI hockey team. Thank you to all who assisted in making this contribution possible, which will greatly benefit patients at the Neepawa Health Center. And here on below, Spring Fever Races 2024. Saturday, June 8th, featured a day of races at the Back 40 Bike Trail in Neepawa for the Manitoba Summer Games qualifier. A listing of the results and additional pictures will be available in the June 21st edition of the Banner and Press. And on with sports. Multiple members of Neepawa baseball picked to play at Manitoba Summer Games. Congratulations to Jaden Ford, Kellen Hawken, and Jude Carr for being chosen to play on baseball teams representing the West at the Manitoba Summer Games being held in Dauphin from August 11th to 14th. As well, congratulations to Everett Ham from Plumas, who was also chosen to represent the West in the Manitoba Summer Games. Everett plays with the Neepawa Under-13 team. And Gladstone Galaxy wins silver. Congratulations to our Gladstone Galaxy U13 squad for coming home with shiny new silver medals. After 4 hard-fought games, they secured a win in the semifinals versus Neepawa and lost out to the St. Rose Stingers in the gold medal game. They kept the score tight and were competitive right until the very end of a long day. Great job to Galaxy, and congrats to the St. Rose Stingers for a well-deserved win. And the Carberry Cougars bring home the banner by Jolene Balkunis. They did it. CSLR gave us an incredible game on Sunday, and our Cougars dug deep in the 4th quarter to bring home the provincial championship with an 8-5 win. A well-earned celebration with so many family and friends and a dedicated bus driver in attendance. Goals came from Dylan Hood, 2, Dade Pierce, 2, Jackson Mueller, Jack Ramsey, Braden Beaubier, and Madden Laverne. Aidan Renwick was a beast in net, supported by great defensive showing. Huge thanks to the staff and teachers of CCI for working to build a new high school sport. This banner will hang proudly because of your support. Coaches Phil Pierce and Corey Laverne earned this win with years of dedication to building lacrosse in Carberry and may have been as excited as the players to finish this season as champs. We can't thank them enough for their commitment to this team. Players, you gave us all a heart-stopping Sunday afternoon, and we are so proud of the teamwork on the field. From last place last year to first place this year, you should all be so proud of your improvement. Enjoy this moment. You've earned it. New vacuum truck purchased. Neepawa Council meeting June 4th by Owen Devereaux. It's out with the old and busted and in with the new for the town of Neepawa as a much-needed piece of machinery. On Tuesday, June 4th, Town Council approved the purchase of a brand new vacuum truck from Westvac Industrial Limited at a cost of $798,550 plus applicable taxes. The money needed for this acquisition was already accounted for within the 2024 financial plan. These types of vac trucks are used to suck water and other materials, sludge, slurries, and waste materials, allowing crews to work on sewer lines. They are also used for routine hydro-excavating and cleaning duties. The newly purchased piece of equipment was needed due to ongoing mechanical issues with the existing town truck. It has reached the point where buying new made more economic sense for Neepawa in the long term, as opposed to consistently repairing the vehicle that was here already. Based on the necessity of our current truck not having the ability to perform work for us, we're quite under a time crunch, said Chief Administrative Officer Colleen Sinchishan. We've had to spend a lot of repair money on that current unit over the last 2 years. Councillor Darrell Gerard added on to Sinchishan's point, noting that the town had to spend money on the rental similar equipment from contractors in order to bridge the gap while their vacuum truck was being repaired. The previous vac truck for the town of Neepawa had been purchased used. While it worked well for a good amount of time, it simply does not have the sustainable longevity a new model will have. Some of the notable discussions and updates from the council meeting included Jason Nadeau told fellow councillors that the Neepawa Public Library has hired a new librarian. Caitlin Henderson is a fully trained and qualified librarian currently based in the PAW. She is replacing Debbie Unger, who retired as the branch supervisor in Neepawa on May 24th. Henderson will start the new position in Neepawa in mid-July. Murray Parrott informed council members and the community of the town's recent accolade from the Economic Development Association of Manitoba, EDM. Neepawa was nominated for and won a province-wide award for the best economic development project over $100,000. The prize was for the retrofit of the former RCMP building into a new, up-to-date training center currently being used by Assiniboine Community College. Parrott commended administration as well as other town staff for the commitment throughout the project, which led to the project's completion and ultimately this honor from EDAM. Yvonne Sisley provided an update on local recreation as the Neepawa swimming pool is now open and season passes are still available. The town recreation director, Nicole Cooper, has been notified of receipt of a grant from the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation for the purchase of a new water-accessible wheelchair. It is a fully submersible chair which can assist people with limited mobility to enjoy water activities. The Neepawa day camps are currently at 60% capacity for the majority of the weeks. June is Participation Month. A full list of local activities can be seen online at the town's website. As well, Cicely made a request volunteer for Neepawa's Canada Day festivities. Anyone who would like to help can contact the town office at 476-7600 for further details. And Diversity, Inclusion, and Support for All by Casper Waran. Minnedosa's Valley Life Recreation, VLR, is set to debut a brand new event in support of community inclusivity next week. The nonprofit recreational organization announced recently that June 22nd will mark its first ever Trail Pride event. The event will take place at the Squirrel Hills Trail Park from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in celebration of Pride Month and all members of Minnedosa and area's 2SLGBTQ+ community. Valley Life Recreation is now very proud to formally announce that we have secured a grant from the Manitoba Pride Alliance, and planning is well underway for our first ever Trail Pride event. VLR shared in its announcement. Allies and queer community members alike are invited to come out on June 22nd and use the space of trails to demonstrate diversity, inclusion, and support for all. Manitoba Pride Alliance is an organization that encourages collaboration between rural, remote, and grassroots pride organizations across Manitoba. The grant VLR received from this initiative is to aid in Trail Pride funding, which will allow VLR to provide all Trail Pride activities to participants free of cost. Gwen Usick of Valley Life Recreation provided further details and comments in a brief interview on June 11th. There will be free activities and snacks for all. Come on out and explore the trails on your own or as a group. There are group hikes, runs, and bike riding planned for all abilities to join, said Usick. The goal is to just promote outdoors for everyone and that this trail space is for all. Everyone is welcome on the trails. With this being our first ever Pride event, we are keeping it simple and welcome all ages to participate. Usick added, with the multi-use trails, Squirrel Hills, is something for all types of activities. We want to send a clear message that outdoors for everyone includes everyone and no one feels alone or left out. With this, VLR and Town of Minnedosa are also hosting a Truth and Reconciliation event at Squirrel Hills Trail Park on September 28th. In addition to activities and snacks on June 22nd, it was noted that various local agencies and groups will also be on the scene with resource materials available. It is not anticipated that any additional volunteers will be needed. However, Usick noted that if anyone wishes to help in any way with the event, they are welcome to reach out to her via gwenu@mymts.net. VLR also stated in its original announcement that if anyone wishes to organize an activity or contribute to Trail Pride in some way, they may also reach out to the VLR via valleyliferec@gmail.com. And Neepawa lacrosse players selected for Prairie Cup. Several members of Neepawa Noise box lacrosse have been selected to represent Team Manitoba in the Prairie Cup. The Neepawa Lacrosse Association confirmed on its social media that Aspen Finney, Cameron Michaluk, and Kylie Reynolds and Marley Wilson have been chosen for the U13 female box lacrosse team. As well, Cameron Michaluk and Carly Coleman have been picked for the roster of the U15 female club in the Prairie Cup and also represent Manitoba at the Nationals, while Che Cox will be a part of the U17 female team. The Prairie Cup is an annual competition which features teams from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Congratulations to all the players on their selection. And volunteers hard at work. Pictured, throughout the town of Carberry this week, volunteers were busy cleaning up and planting flowers in green spaces. Seen above, some of the volunteers with their freshly planted flowers. And Neepawa Area Choir supports local groups. pictured below, the Neepawa and area community choir made a set of donations to Touchwood, NACI, and the Knox Presbyterian Church on May 30th. These donations benefit the Touchwood Park Accessible Playground, NACI Chorale, and the Knox Building Fund, and came from the funds raised at the joint choir performance with the hymns, the choraleers, and NACI Chorale that took place on May 9th. Pictured from left to right are Susan Salmon, Gwen McCaskill, Blair Chapman, Gladys Anderson, and Donna Huck. And Shane Hnidy to be inducted into Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame by Owen Devereaux. Former NHLer and Neepawa minor hockey alumni Shane Hnidy is receiving historic honor. The former Neepawa native has been announced as one of the 2024 inductees into the Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame. Hnidy played 550 games over 12 years in the National Hockey League. He won the Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins in his final season as a pro. He currently serves as a television analyst for the Vegas Golden Knights. Locally, Hnidy played with the Yellowhead Chiefs and had a short tenure with the Neepawa natives during the 1990-91 hockey season before moving on to the next level in the Western Hockey League and eventually the NHL. The Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame and Museum is based in Winnipeg since 1985. It has recognized the accomplishments of Manitoba players, coaches, builders, and teams at the international, national, provincial, and local levels. Along with Hnidy, some of the other notable members of this year's class are Russ Romaniuk, Winnipeg Jets, Brad Maxwell, Minnesota North Stars, Hal Winkler, Boston Bruins, Southeast Prairie Thunder, 2011-12 Allen Cup champions, Cartwright Clippers, multiple SWHL championships, 1986 to 1992, Wayne Deshauer, coach and manager, and Kelly Moore, broadcaster, 680 CJOB. Dan Mazier's internet bill to become law, and pictured above, Dan Mazier, Member of Parliament for the Dauphin-Swan River Neepawa riding. Bill C-288 will receive royal assent after passing final vote by Owen Devereaux. A private member's bill, first brought forward nearly 2 years ago by Dan Mazier, is about to officially become the law of the land and the internet. Bill C-288 requires tech companies to include in their advertising the average download and upload speeds of an internet plan and not just the maximum speeds. In essence, the bill ensures that those companies are being honest with their customers about their internet service speeds. This is a bill that Mazier, the Member of Parliament for Dauphin-Swan River Neepawa, has been working on since June 2022. In a video shared across social media, Dan Mazier discussed the successful completion of this bill's journey to law. He said this is a positive change for all Canadians. I've heard from so many Canadians, especially those who live in rural Canada, about the disconnect between the internet speeds they're paying for versus the speeds they actually received. This is because the government has allowed internet companies to advertise speeds that Canadians may never receive. Internet companies across Canada advertised maximum theoretical speeds instead of typical or expected speeds. Imagine going to fuel up your car and purchasing up to 50 liters of fuel only to receive 10 liters, but still paying for 50 liters. This isn't right, said Mazier. This transparent and factual information will help consumers make informed decisions, which will increase competition, and more competitive means lower prices and better services for you. I want to thank everyone who helps push Bill C-288 across the finish line. There's a lot more work to do to connect Canada, but today is a great day for Canadians. The bill now only needs royal assent, which is expected soon. After it becomes law, the CRTC would have to hold hearings with the public and industry on the new advertising standards. And now that June is here, it means graduations. And here are the dates for local graduations. Minnedosa Collegiate, Friday, June 21st, 10 a.m. at the Minnedosa Community Center. William Morton Collegiate Institute, Friday, June 21st, 1:30 p.m. at the William Morton Collegiate. Glenetta School, Friday, June 21st at 5 p.m. Alonza School, Sunday, June 23rd at 3 p.m. Alonza School Gymnasium. McCreary School, Saturday, June 22nd at 3 p.m. at McCreary Hall. Neepawa Area Collegiate, Tuesday, June 25th at 1:30 p.m. at the Yellowhead Center. Carberry Collegiate, Wednesday, June 26th at 4:30 p.m. at Carberry Collegiate. And I will open the pages to the pictures of the graduates, but I will not be attempting their names. So, Minnedosa Collegiate. Both these pages are from Minnedosa. William Morton Collegiate, so that would be Gladstone. Neepawa Area Collegiate Institute, which is Neepawa, and it takes up a few pages. I guess there's a lot of grads this year. More Neepawa Area Collegiate. And more Neepawa Area Collegiate. And more Neepawa Area Collegiate. Lots of grads this year. And then we have, on this side, St. Rose School on the left, and on the right, Glenella School and Alonza School. And now Carberry Collegiate from Carberry. And Erickson Collegiate on the left and the top of the right. Rolling Acres Colony School on below. Austin Christian Academy, École Jour de Plaine, and Parkview School. And McGregor Collegiate takes the 2 pages. And McCreary School finishes it up with their page. So that concludes the Neepawa Banner and Press for Friday, June 14th. I hope you enjoyed.